Oh,
An error. Go live. Let's try again.
let's try again for X. And we are live. Amazing. So, hi everyone. Welcome back to Thanks for Holding, the show where we talk about how modern consumer brands actually grow in today's fragmented e commerce landscape. So, I'm Hugo, founding engineer at 14AI, and I'm joined by Marie, CEO of 14AI.
Good
Hello.
morning, everyone. Hi from San Francisco.
Today we're on hold with Joey Thomas, VP at Dude's Wipes, to talk about what it really takes for CPG brands to own their category, not just compete in it. So welcome, Joey.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to
Yeah,
be here.
that's a great pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thanks.
So let's dive in with our first question. Dude Wipes went from disruptive challenger to sitting next to charming at Targets. So
Let's go.
what changed? Yeah, let's go. What changed internally when you realized that you weren't just like a brand, you were building like a category in its own?
Yeah, love. We got super hyper focused on the category. So instead
Yeah.
of trying to be everything to everybody, we were like, no, we are a butt wipe flushable brand. So let's just go so hard. Let's make toilet paper the enemy. And that just became like the bullseye on the site. So that's how we just sort of like created that one vertical specific around butt wipes. Yeah.
And when you joined them, what was it already a category? Was it like tell us the behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, flushable wipes already existed. Dude is just the first to like put heavy emphasis on like being a butt wipe brand. So when I joined, they were still like Dude products. I think they were still dabbling with like some of their stuff, like ball powder, body spray, deodorant, that kind of stuff. And we cut all the noise, and we were like, nah, we can scale this just by being a butt wipe. It makes it easier for the consumer to know who you are when you just own that very specific vertical. So for us, it was like we're just a butt wipe brand. And the enemy is not other flushable wipes. The enemy is toilet paper. Toilet
Yeah.
paper is dry, it's scratchy, it's not as hygienic. Wet cleans better than dry. Wetter is better. So it was like we were just a butt wipe brand selling against toilet paper. Yeah.
Yeah. I was at Burning Man, and definitely that's the best way to wash yourself as
Yeah.
well.
There you go. Yeah, nothing like Burning Man to show you that you need, a wet butt wipe instead of toilet paper. That's awesome. Love it.
And when did you know that Dude Vibes wasn't just competing in vibes, but redefining the space?
Yeah, I'm sorry, say that again.
And so when did you know that Dude Vibes wasn't just competing in vibes, but redefining a space?
Yeah, I think like the benefit of being a challenger or a disruptor or like an incumbent brand is you can say what big CPG can't, so you can actually talk about, I mean, everybody poops, you can talk about it. You can say like Cottonelle's not going to say that, Charmin's not going to say that. They might say it later as like a copy, but it's a bad copy. It's inauthentic. To define like a brand instead of just like competing with other flushable wipes, it's like, let's say what the big boys can't say. Let's talk about like bowel movements, how like dry toilet paper is dirty. It's not clean. Like you need something wet to clean. You wouldn't clean mud with dry paper. You use a wet cloth. So like you can say those things. You can like be real with your audience, authentic with your audience, develop marketing campaigns around it, interact, troll in the comments. That's when you're like, oh, okay, like we're actually like a brand that's making a meaningful impact. And when the consumer is at shelf, they're shopping, like they're going to remember Dude Wipes over everybody else.
Yeah, I totally feel it. And I feel like you already gave us some hints, but like how exactly, like with this product that is so commoditized and that already existed for like a while, like how did you create a cultural permission and brand dominance in what was already this commodity? Like how did it happen?
Yeah, the founders always say you got to make the consumer feel something when they buy you. You
Yeah.
know? So like, I mean, if you buy privately, if you buy Equate wipes, you're not going to feel something. If you buy Cottonelle wipes, you're not feeling something. When you buy Dude wipes, like you feel something. You feel the fun of the brand. You feel the humor of the brand. The brand makes a statement. I'd say like the benefit of a pack of wipes over toilet paper is like you take toilet paper, you put it on a roll. You don't know what brand the toilet paper is. You take a pack of Dude wipes, you put it on the back of the toilet. It's there displayed every day. You know that this guy buys Dude wipes, and it says something about him as a guy or even as a consumer, versus like something that doesn't say something about them. So I think like that's where like the brand starts to take shape when like you're really loud about who you are, who you're selling to, you're proud about what you're selling, your users, you're building community. That's like where you're like, okay, we're actually like a standout brand.
And so can you share more about building a community?
Yeah, for us, like a big part of that is like trolling in the comments. You know, like we're never gonna switch the comments over to AI or a bot. It's always gonna be like a founder, and 9 times out of 10, it's Sean Riley. It's the CEO and founder of Dude Wipes. It's actually like responding in the comments to like interact with community. And I think like that's where like socially, you know, instead of us like fighting to garner followers on TikTok and Instagram,
Mhm.
it's been more a play of just like being loud about who we are, being proud, being funny, and people just organically want to follow and be a part of that. Like they're proud to join the community. So that's where like the levers of social media for us, yeah, there's awareness drivers, and yeah, we use TikTok Shop for sales for sure. But more than anything, it's a community where like we get to say who we are, we get to laugh with our consumer, we get feedback from the consumer when they don't like something, when they do like something, when they want a new flavor that we're not offering.
Mm,
Like all of that is built around community.
I see.
And you mentioned that you don't use AI for comments. Do you use AI for other parts of your marketing?
Yeah, I'd say like we try to remove like the human element when like a computer can just do it better and faster, and the human can be freed up to do something else. So like when it comes to like outbound DMs for TikTok, like we use Yuka, you know, which is sending like outbound messages to creators. That's AI backed. I'd say like we're still trying to figure out how AI like interweaves with the business because we don't want to be left behind. So like when we're optimizing for content, when we're optimizing for SEO, like maybe we like allow AI to take a pass at it, and then a founder to sort of be like, this is actual brand voice. So we make sure that we're protective of that voice, but like we're using it where we can for sure. When it comes to like forecasting, supply chain, I think that's where AI is really going to change the game. You know, it's like instead of a sales guy guessing how many they're going to sell, you know, it's way better to look at like the history of the brand, you know, a decade of selling wipes and the trends and the seasonality and the different levers that you're pulling against, and how those impact sales. That's where like AI is really going to benefit Dude Wipes.
Yeah, and also gathering all the feedback, like getting all the comments and then doing like an exec report every Sunday, understanding what features requests, what people don't like in a like very big amount.
Totally. I love that. Just like eyes on the business. Like if something goes wrong, you know, if people are seeing spots on their wipes, like what's happening, feedback about the opening, the dispensing, the flavors. Yeah. We just launched Mint Whole, which is like a really like spicy wipe where like we're helping you feel something when you use the wipe. But it'll be interesting to see like, hey, how AI like analyzes that like feedback on like what the consumer experience is with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for this brand dominance, we discussed a lot about your brand positioning, how you were like replying to all the comments and so on. But I was also curious, like, what is the impact also of the distribution muscle? Like, is it like more about brand positioning or the distribution muscle?
Yeah, I mean, chicken or the egg, you know.
Yeah.
Retail is going to have a king in every category, you know. For Dude Wipes, we became that category king on the internet first, and then took that story to retail. So like that's where like when you're dominating Amazon as a channel, retail typically follows. And then when you're using TikTok Shop for even added awareness, where it's just creating this omni lift, retail follows. You know, there's obviously like the club players, which are going to have like a private label and a brand king, you know, but like for us, that was sort of like the last unlock. So it was like very much like the priority was to become category king on the internet, just of flushable wipes, take that story into mass. So that's where like Walmart, Target, even grocery follows that trend. And then like once you're like an established king where you have to have Dude Wipes in the assortment in order to sell flushable wipes, then it's like then you're category king of club, you know, then it's like, okay, even Costco has to follow, you know. That was very much like the play for Dude. It's about focus, you know. It was about like let's focus on flushable wipes. What's considered by big CPG is sort of like a stepchild, something that they kind of also sell but aren't focused on. Let's own that vertical wholly, so that like omni-channel, you can't really go anywhere and not find Dude Wipes as the king.
And you mentioned TikTok Shop. What has been your learnings, the hard moments, the fun moments?
Yeah. I love TikTok Shop. I'm 42, so I'm like a geriatric millennial. So I'm sort of like old for TikTok. I think like when we were approached in 2023, like it was like very much like a debate internally, like, is TikTok really just like dance videos, you know, like 17-year-olds, like or people, but that's not the case at all, you know. Last stats I heard, TikTok boasts 170 million visitors like across the US, like unique consumers. that consumer opens the app on average 22 times in a day. And that consumer spends 96 minutes of full engaged time on the app, meaning it is sound on and eyes at screen. That's very, very powerful. Social media is more powerful than some of your biggest streaming networks in the country. And that consumer is shopping. TikTok will tell you that 70% of the 170 million Americans that have gone to TikTok Shop have been exposed to a product that they have either bought on TikTok Shop or somewhere else. And I think that their projected revenue for 2026 is $30 billion. So we launched as a brand in January of 2024.
Nice.
Yeah. So early days for TikTok coming out of beta. We've got more than 2 years of sales on there. But today we've got more than 18,000 creators that are like selling and hustling the product on TikTok Shop.
Wow.
And we've built a whole network of humans. So hopefully, you know, when you go on the app, especially you, like you'll see Dude Wipes on there.
But how do you coordinate all those creators? Because like it's a lot, 80,000. Like how do you make sure that every content is of good quality, that it respects like the brand tone, or at least I guess that you're not like monitoring everything that they're posting, because sometimes you also want to give like some space, some creative space for the influencer. But how do you manage this?
I love that question. You can provide do's and don'ts for affiliates. But I feel like big CPG is too scared. So like giant CPG is afraid of sort of like the legality of TikTok and what people will say about the brand. Byron Sharp, who wrote How Brands Grow, taught us like consumers are not obsessed with your brand in the way that you're obsessed with your brand. So, you know, consumers are polyamorous. They love you today, but if you're gone tomorrow, they're going to buy something else. You know, they are not like obsessing over what you have to say about yourselves. And no one knows their audience better than a creator on TikTok. So, you know, if you are on TikTok today, if you amass 5,000 followers, you can be a creator and you can sell product, and you're going to know your audience better than I'm going to know your audience as a brand. So if you are a fitness girly, Marie, and you are like, you know, talking to your audience about fitness, you're going to know how to sell Dude Wipes in a way to your audience. Then I'm not going to be able to tell you or inform you. Or if you, Ugo, are just a bro who eats too much Chipotle, you know, and has a rough diet and is uncomfortable with toilet paper, you're going to sell the product to your audience. So I can give you a do's and don'ts. It's a 1-page, you know, digital sheet. But outside of that, I'm going to give you the freedom to sell that brand in the way that you want. When you've got 18,000 creators sort of doing that, you have just all this like volume and noise around the brand and people selling in different ways. You've got moms selling to like other moms that are sending their kids off to college. You've got frat bros selling to like their frat buddies, you know, so it really like does a lot for the brand. It lifts you in all these different verticals, you know, where you're talking to all these different people, and you're able to do that on TikTok Shop in a way that I can't do that with an Amazon PDP, because I kind of have to, like curate my copy on there. So I think TikTok is the most powerful social awareness channel for sure of our generation to date.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned about your lives. How did you get the idea? What kind of lives are you doing?
Yeah, so lives are like the norm in China for TikTok. You know, it's a big part of the revenue stream. I think the last stat for Dude was like 70% of our sales were coming from shoppable video and 30% were coming from live. So lives is a big piece. It's also just part of like building out the brand. And I do think it's the future. Like I do think there's like a QVC TikTok future where like people go on live. I like today, Dude does 75 hours a week of live. You know, some of that is with agency and then some of that is in-house. But even the agency, like you get to sort of like pick the talent. They build a studio room that looks like Dude Wipes and they get to go live. Sean Riley was the first to go live for Dude. He's the CEO. You know, he spent 3 hours live trying to like sell butt wipes. And so we were like trying to come, there's only so many things you can say about butt wipes over 3 hours, but like we try to make it fun. We do giveaways. And again, like that's a great place for community to come and ask you questions, you know, and come and interact with the founder and understand the story of the brand. So like lives are an important part of like building the infrastructure for TikTok and absolutely for the future.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We have a question from the audience. I wanted to share it with you. So you are now like in retailer stores and you started as an internet company, so in e-commerce. How did this shift go? Like what was the operational shift required to go from e-commerce heavy to retailer heavy business?
Yeah, I think it's strongest to wait for retail to sort of like ask you to come versus you beating it, trying to explain to them why they need you. When there's consumer demand, there's demand. It would be terrifying to me to launch in Walmart or Target without that pent up demand if the consumer doesn't know who you are. There's only so much I can say about you on a package of wipe, about my brand, like to convince you to buy it over what you're already buying if you're in the aisle. For me, like when you do e-com first, you build this sort of like awareness. There's some pent up demand. There's a lot of exposure. So the consumer knows who you are, and that consumer is a lazy shopper. If they bought you on Amazon before, but you're in Walmart when they need it, they're going to buy it at Walmart. So that strategy definitely worked for Dude. It was more like we had all this pent up demand, and retail's like, oh, if we want to continue to scale flushable wipes, we've got to have Dude in the space, you know? So that worked well for us. I'd say like operationally, you know, like you've got to make some shifts and some challenges, you know, when you're like, retail has different expectations, different inventory loads, you know, when you're going into 4,400 Walmart stores across the country, like there's expectations there. And then those buyers have like dollars per store that they expect you to generate. So that's where like, once you're on shelf, you want to make sure there's already some pent up demand. So you're selling some units, but then you've got to like pull some levers against that, whether that's like promotions or end caps that they're expecting, or even like offline drivers where you're running meta ads that are Walmart coupons so they can go and sort of like, you know, cash in store. But you got to like figure out that play. So I think it's about like scaling at the right pace, you know, maybe a big retailer at a time.
Yeah.
And I feel you do so much about the 80,000 creators, the lives, the content, the retail, Amazon. It doesn't stop. So what's the day in the life of Joey?
Day in the life of Joey. You know, I'd say like that's where like Dude Wipes is a special space because you've got founders that are hyper focused and very, very calm and deep in the weeds. No one works harder in the business than the founders. So, you know, they are not like founders that have sailed away to Bali and are living the high life. Like they're very much like still the voice of the brand. I think it's worked really well because the founders are the brand. Like they know their consumer, because at the end of the day, they are the consumer. And those typically tend to be the best brands that function at retail at scale, you know? So those boys are curating the messages. When it comes to like product development, those boys are the ones picking it out. Those boys are the ones naming the products, you know? And then guys like me get to take a lot of credit for the work that they do. So, you know, I'd say like Dude is hyper focused. Like we're not trying to be everything to everyone. We also like have a very clear like channel strategy. Like we know the role of Amazon, we know the role of TikTok, we know the role of retail.com and D2C, and now club and mass and grocery. So that focus really helps us like do a lot. I'd say like if we were still trying to do like deodorant and all these other things, like it's a lot harder to figure out where to put your focus. But for us, like we're very specifically category king of wipes.
And so you mentioned a lot about focus. How do you get your creativity, and what do you do outside your day-to-day to get to that level of focus?
I mean, the brain has a lot of fun just with each other. I'd say like I've never been in a corporate environment where it's just like more friends around a table making poop jokes, which is really what it is. So, you know, we work hard, sure, but like the brand is fun. So like a lot of like creative ideas come from us, like around a table, just like hashing it out and thinking of what would be funny to us. And then the beauty of like digital launches is that's where you can like test and learn. Like you can take something like, you know, I think it might've been Sean who had the idea of doing like a pumpkin spice latte themed wipe, and that became Dumpkin Spice, you know, which became, and like retail's afraid of that stuff at the beginning, you know, Walmart's not gonna launch Dumpkin Spice at the beginning. But that's where like Amazon gives you the opportunity to do that, you know, and TikTok gives you the opportunity to grow awareness. And now it's like this banger of a hit where now like every retailer wants Dumpkin Spice. Even Club is like, can we get Dumpkin Spice? You know, so like I think that's a world that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago, because you didn't have this automatic online channel that you could just like unlock and test and learn, you know? So I think that's where like, if you're flexible as a brand, you can test and learn on the internet, you can take those winnings to retail, and you can continue to scale from there.
So we hear sometimes like some brands saying like Amazon is hurting our retail relationship, but it seems for you that it's also a blessing because it enables you like to go beyond what you can for retail and try out new products and then move on to retail once they are like proven in the market. So how do you have this relationship? Like how do you manage those different channels?
Yeah, simply, if you are trying to punish the consumer for where they buy or where they don't buy, Amazon is going to work against you. Amazon model is built around price matching the lowest price that they can find at retail. And that's always going to be the Amazon model. Okay, so if you're going to build a true omni business, you have to build it with that in mind. Like once you launch at Walmart, Amazon is going to lock in with that price. If that's going to frustrate Target or frustrate Costco, and you're going to try to sell the same thing in all these channels, you're gonna run into a big headache, and you're gonna think Amazon is you. Amazon is not intending to punish your business. Amazon is a retailer, so Amazon is trying to provide speed and efficiency to their consumer. Yeah. And they're trying to provide them the best value, meaning whatever UPC they lock against, that's what they're gonna sell it for. I'd say like the challenge is there, like of course, like if you're dude wipes, like sometimes Amazon is going to match against the pack because it's UPC for UPC. Other times they're going to match against the wipe. They're going to be like, well, the wipe is 5 cents a wipe over there, and we've done the math, and this should be our retail price. So you have to like be prepared for those things. You've got to also like pull the levers that you can as a brand. Like you can implement a MAP policy, which some retailers aren't gonna participate in, but you can implement a MAP policy that says like, hey, this is our minimum advertised price, and you can try to like enforce those things the way that you can strategically as a brand. But at the end of the day, like build a business that can be sold everywhere for the same price, and you'll win. And then don't punish that consumer based on where they want to purchase. Like if they want to buy you at Target, good. If they want to buy you on your website, great. If they want to buy you on TikTok, good. But make sure that you've got a business from a pricing strategy that can work in all those spaces.
And what has been your pricing strategy?
Yeah, we have evolved as it's gone on, because we're a brand that sort of like grew up on the internet, scaled, sort of like mass, now scale into club. And when you go to club, certain club partners need a benefit to the consumer over every other retail listing because they're selling a membership model, right? So if you're paying for a membership to a club, you're then getting a lower retail price, which means typically you've got to offer some type of differentiation. You typically don't want the same item to be sold at club that you're also selling at Walmart, because they're both going to be mad at each other for that pricing. So I think like that's where you've got to be very strategic about what you're selling and where and how you're selling it. It used to be that like pack size was enough of a differentiator. That's not the world we live in anymore. Because again, they can count the wipes. When I worked for BIC, they're counting the pins, so they're like, nah, that's 336 pins. This is 224, so that's where like, you've got to be specific about what you're selling and where, and protect your retail partners based on the consumers that they're driving to shop in stores.
Yeah. So we were wondering, like, what does the data look like when the channels are all actually compounding each other? Like, how does it look like?
I'll give you a great stat that I have at Dude. So like we launched TikTok Shop, right? We are not making the same margin on TikTok that we do at retail, right? Because you are like paying FBT, fulfilled by TikTok. You're paying seller fees and you're paying these fulfillment fees. And it turns out a pack of wipes is like £1 a pack. So it's really expensive to sell you a $3 pack of wipes when it's £1, so you're not making the same margin. And when you look at that just on its face, you're gonna be like, well, then I'm not gonna sell on TikTok. I'm just gonna sell at Walmart. I'm just gonna sell on Amazon where I can make some money, because I'm a low price commodity item. The challenge is you can grow all this awareness on TikTok, but you don't know what's happening with that. So that's where we were able to partner originally with Scintilla, which is like Walmart's data interface. So Scintilla is like Walmart's data, and do a bunch of surveying of Walmart consumers. And we found that like of the Walmart consumers that we surveyed, 40% that were learning about Dude Wipes on TikTok were buying us Walmart in store or Walmart.com. Pretty staggering. 17% of Walmart consumers that were finding us on TikTok Shop were buying us on Amazon. So that was like enough justification to be like, okay, there's this omni lift happening. Even though you're growing all this awareness on TikTok, you might not make a great margin on TikTok, but it's benefiting the whole business. What happens when we turn off all of our other marketing spend and we just go super hard on TikTok? Well, it turns out it just kept rising and rising and rising.
Wow.
Within the TikTok ecosphere, we only have a 2% repeat purchase rate, meaning 98% of the people that find us on TikTok and buy us once aren't buying us again on that platform. They're going to go buy us somewhere else, which is great for the brand. So if you're a brand, I can expose, if I'm a consumable brand, granted, if I'm just selling you one item one time, I think TikTok is a different game and it's more challenging. But if I'm a brand that wants to teach you that dry toilet paper is gross, now you've used a wet butt wipe and it's a better experience for you. And once you've tried it, you've had that pack of wipes on the back of your toilet for a week, you're going to want more wipes. You're not going to go back to TikTok to buy it. You're going to click to Amazon, or you're going to see me at retail. You're going to buy me there. And I just won. So I just drove like a sampling program, and I got you to buy that first sample. Maybe I didn't make as much money, but I'm going to make more money on the repeat. So that's where I think TikTok really works. Now there's software, I think it's called Work Magic, and they actually have like TikTok data that can show you like where the consumer is going once they're exposed to you on TikTok, which helps justify that even more.
Wow.
And what has been your experience with Instagram? Is it dead?
I mean, there are brands that rock that strategy all day, like the Meta to D2C strategy, and they grow $100 million business. You know, they got the ads and they're doing all this Facebook and Instagram spending, and they've got it worked out. They've got landing pages that works for them. I think like when you are a brand that is aiming to be a retail partner, like a category king, you know, I'm not going to drop a bucket of money on Meta, because when I'm a user in a Meta product, if I'm on Instagram, I'm maybe watching stories. Typically, I think it's a high percentage where it's sound off, but I'm watching stories, and I'm also streaming, or I'm also working, you know, so I'm doing multiple things. The idea that your ad is going to impress me, so that I go and I try to go to your website to learn about butt wipes, and then you sell me a pack of butt wipes, and then I go back to a Meta product to continue entertaining myself. You're asking a consumer to do a lot. Versus TikTok, where like you are in the app, you're spending 96 minutes a day there. You're not finding an ad from me as a brand. You're listening to a creator that you already follow. It's a comedian who's now making a poop joke, who's got a shoppable link in his video for you to buy wipes, right? You click through, you buy the wipes, and you stay in the app. You go right back to consuming content. That's a way easier way for me to sell you product versus me asking you to go from Instagram to my website, learn about me, click through, come back, go back to Instagram. That's a way harder conversion. So I think like, you know, I think Meta might continue to be king for like high priced items, things that you buy one time, maybe apparel for like, you know, but there's different spaces where it can work. But for a commodity like dude wipes, I wouldn't like bet the farm. We've done like testing. Like, we spend on Meta, we spend on Google, right to the website. If you go to the website today, you're going to see like a bunch of Micmac options where I'm clicking you through to retail. I'm showing partners. I don't want to ship you those wipes. I lose money. So I'm gonna give you the option of Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, Costco, Amazon. Let you buy where you typically buy, let them do what they do best, and I'm just going to be the brand.
So I'm curious, like, do you think it's related, for example, like related to targets? Because, for example, like, let's say you have a brand that is targeting the Gen Z, it's easier because they are like almost all on TikTok. So you have like widespread adoption of this app, and you can easily target this population. And do you think that with Meta, it can be the case that you can target like an older audience, or like a different one that will still be useful to your business? Or do you think it's still dead because you don't have like the shopping experience?
I love that you're asking that, because I was of that same notion, thinking like, okay, TikTok works for Gen Z, but maybe doesn't work for geriatric millennials like myself. But this is the last that I heard, and it's like a year old, so don't quote me on this, even though we're live. I was told by TikTok that the average age on the platform was 37. The average age.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that they had a giant population that was like 55 plus. So it's like it's not what it used to be. Like in the early days of TikTok, sure, maybe it's skewed really, really young. Some of it's time, and that audience has grown up, you know, so they're a little bit older now. But also, like, I think that if you've got 170 million Americans on TikTok, you've got a pretty wide age demographic there, and they've got money to spend. The average AOV was like in the 40s. So it's like they're willing to spend money. Amazon taught us all that we're not spending real money with a buy now with one click, you know, so nobody thinks they're spending real money. Like, they're in the app, they're being entertained, they're following things that they find interesting, whether it's politics or jokes or religion or whatever it is. And then these creators, 5,000 followers, isn't that, once you got 5,000, you can sell products. So a lot of them are commoditizing like the platform that they've built, you know? So I don't think that TikTok is for young brands and Instagram is for old brands. I mean, I do like, you know, if you're selling a rocker, you know, Facebook is great. Like, you know, they're selling, you know, a perimenopause supplement, like Facebook is probably great for you, you know? But for like, if you're dude wipes, you learn like, okay, early days, I'm selling to Ugo. I'm selling, because you eat too much Taco Bell, and you're the frat guy who gets it. Like, I'm gonna sell to you. But over time, it turns out like, no, everybody poops, and toilet paper is uncomfortable for everybody. And only 35% of households in America use a wet product to clean their butts. So in that case, I can just go broader and broader with my messaging, and it yields more for the brand. I can sell to everyone. I'd rather sell everyone one time versus getting Ugo to go from buying 5 packs a year to 7 packs.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Joshua. So you shared that it's important to align brand performance and distribution. What breaks when they're misaligned?
When brand performance and distribution are misaligned?
Yeah, exactly, the 3 of them.
Yeah. Brand performance and distribution.
Yeah.
I mean, Byron Scott will tell you distribution is everything. And we consider him to be a wizard. He taught us that it is about doors. It is about penetration. Keep it simple, and loyalty will follow. So in my early days in my career, I was obsessed with loyalty and subscription and getting Ugo to buy more wipes, like, okay, I'm going to make him a heavy user because he's a light user. It turns out like, when you are category king, it's very hard to unseat a king. So if you are Tide detergent, it's very hard to unseat you. And your loyalty rate is super similar to everybody else who shares the same market share size as you, right? So if you are Tide, if you are Colgate, those market shares are almost identical over time. The consumer, again, is polyamorous and lazy. So if I'm going to be category king, I have to have doors. I have to have penetration, so if I am like obsessed about like the brand and how I show up, and I think that I am like too good for Walmart, that's a misalignment between brand and penetration distribution, because I'm like, no, Walmart's beneath me. Well, it's the largest retailer in the country. So like, if I'm going to have doors, I have to have Walmart. I love to always say like Carbone. It's like it's a really, really high end restaurant. Yeah. They've got a great like vodka sauce. You can buy that vodka sauce nationwide at Walmart. So if Carbone can sell you pasta for $48 in store, but also sell you their bottle of sauce for $17 at Walmart, to me, that's a great argument that no one is really above Walmart, So like, Walmart is the retailer that reaches the most Americans. I want to make sure that that's aligned. Like, if I want to be, I can protect the brand, but I've got to make a brand that can show up in all those spaces if I want to have distribution everywhere. In terms of performance, it's like, if I'm not driving repeat, if the product sucks, if the performance of the product is bad, I can build a beautiful brand. I can maybe initially get good distribution because I convince a buyer that they have to have me. But if the performance isn't there, the repeat's not there, I'm going to get kicked out, and it's going to be really hard for me to go back. It's going to be really hard for me to get a second try. So I want to make sure that like the brand is strong, the performance of the brand is there before I like reach for distribution.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much for all these insights. And as Easton is saying in the comments, Joey is the man.
Easton, okay, that's my guy. That guy.
Yeah.
Sales on TikTok. Look him up. His handle's Arms for Days. I don't think there's a better sales guy on TikTok. So,
so last question before we finish the live. So if you were launching a new brand tomorrow, what would you do differently, knowing that what you do now?
Yeah, the number one thing I would do is I would put all my eggs on TikTok Shop. If I was launching a consumable brand, first thing I would do is I would partner with the Eastons of the world, and I would launch TikTok Shop the right way. I'd get creators hustling and selling the product to grow awareness. Before I do that, I would make sure that my listings are live on Amazon, because there's going to be a ton of click through to Amazon to see if the product is there. They both need to exist together, and maybe a little D2C action over here to help educate the consumer who has added questions they're not able to answer on Amazon, and a creator's not able to answer on TikTok. Those are the 3 channels that I would have locked and loaded. My marketing dollars would be spent against TikTok activations, meaning working with creators to sell that product for me. I would not dump a bunch of money against ads on TikTok, because I'm not trying to drive a brand experience there. I'm trying to get the Eastons of the world to talk to their audience in the way that they know best to drive awareness. use Amazon as my sales channel. So that's just a strong place where the consumer trusts the shipping speed, they trust the pricing, they're going to click through, they're going to buy, and then use DTC as my educator. Those are the three that I would focus in. I would not go and try to launch retail at the beginning because I don't think the consumer knows who I am or why they would buy me. And that's really hard to do on a package. So I would have a strong e-com infrastructure, and then I would wait for retail to come and knock on my door once I was like becoming category king.
Wow. Yeah.
Focus is the most important part.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, listen, you don't have the merit as a brand to sell in other spaces when the consumer doesn't know who you are. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot just be, oh, I'm dude products. I am a deodorant. I am a butt wipe. The consumer doesn't know who you are. And how did you earn the right to sell in these other spaces? Right now, once I'm a significant dude wipe business, then maybe I can play with some other spaces. Okay. They know who I am. They know what I stand for. They know what emotion they feel when they buy me. So maybe then I have a license to sell into something else. But at the beginning, hyper focus, one category, super focused e-commerce strategy from the beginning, and let retail follow.
And you nail it. Yeah. That's incredible. Well,
I have a flavor request.
Let's go. What do you got?
So I love macaron, the French
Oh
macaron.
Yeah, of course.
And my favorite flavor is, do you know which one?
Rose.
Rose.
Yeah.
So rose, if you can have, that's my feature request for you.
I love it. I just opened my phone. I'm going to text Sean Riley right now that we want a rose macaron flavor wipe. Let's see what he says.
Yeah.
But that's great. Yeah, I love it.
That's a more chic place,
Yeah, the
love
chic
it.
black white,
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Everybody's dude. Very cool. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, Joey. It was amazing.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun.
Thank you very much for being with us. It was very, very insightful. Before we wrap up, I just want to give a quick heads up to our audience. We are hosting our next live on March 10th, and we'll be diving into automating TikTok Shop at scale. So stay tuned because this one is going to be really interesting, and we're going to put the live in the comments very soon. And also, we want to give you a little heads up that we are actually finishing the writing of a TikTok Shop book. So if you want to have your own copy, stay tuned on our LinkedIn account and you'll have your own copy of the book.
And look, Easton says Rose will be a hit. Okay,
Yeah.
Joey, I think we need to make it happen now.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. That's
I love
now
it.
you have homework.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I love it. Very much.
Let's go. I can't wait to see it.
Have a
Thank you
beautiful
very
day,
much.
everyone.
Have a
Bye-bye.
beautiful day and thank you for being with us.